Is it? I believe you are also in charge of the student success
Yes.
part. So it's kind of expanded. It's a kind of trend, but there's a, to me, to my understanding, there's a pushback on that part, academic affairs, student affairs.
Yes. A bit of pushback from our angle because we started thinking about the library in 2011 or so as the home of information literacy. And we really leaned into the ACRL standards at that time, and now the framework for information literacy. And at Washburn, it just so happened that they wanted to tear down the wing of a building that had housed the academic advisors. And we said, we'll take them. And they said, the administration asked us, what was the reason that we could bring them in? What angle were we looking for? And we said, information literacy. They are helping students become the information literate about their educational journeys. And so it was an opportunity to think about it in a way. And now, as I see people leaving our library, I think that student success piece is fundamental to their ability to tell a different story than other candidates that they're.
But here, for example, I believe the ESU is part of majority,
Yes.
So they took away physically, not structurally. It was not part of the library. For example,
Right.
tutoring service.
Right.
Was not a part of library, but physically was here.
Right.
But they took that out.
Where
To
is
the
it now?
memorial unit.
Right.
Under the name of one-stop shop.
Right.
But it could be actually at the library, one-stop shop.
So this is a question, right? For us now, student success and academics report up through the provost, through the academic side. And in many institutions, those report through student life.
Yeah.
And so I think it's one of those things that it was right at a moment in time at a particular institution. At Washburn, for example, our Washburn student government reports up through student life. I think it's a report up through the political science department, so that it's more of an internship, boots on the ground kind of thing than it is just an activity.
Yeah.
But how things happen are reflections of a moment in time that made perfect sense at that moment, but now, and I've been pretty assertive about keeping our hold on that.
So do they report to you?
Yes.
That's good.
Well, it is. It creates a little bit of conflict because the majority of our advisors are master's degree holding professionals who are not members of the general faculty. And then the librarians are master's degree holders
With faculties.
with faculty status, and in which the Master of Library Science is a terminal degree, a terminal practicing degree, not a pedagogical degree.
Yeah, so again, your overview, and then I have several questions or comments, and you probably.
I'll try to leave time for that.
Kathy is good for the impromptu kind of questions, comments.
Jabber.
I can jabber. Here, kick me if I need to wind down or redirect.
What is it an hour-ish?
Yeah, probably 50 minutes.
You can talk for 50
Not
minutes.
for 50 minutes.
Oh, here comes some people. Susanna Greenwood is one of my alums.
These are current students, most of them?
No, Fred Wade.
I think so. Well, probably. I announced on the content. Hello. Can you hear us?
Yes, good morning.
Okay.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
English.
Especially good to see you, Sean.
I'm sorry.
It's especially good to see you today.
Oh, thank you, Myra. That means a lot to me.
Yeah, you mean a lot to me.
What perfect weather we're having
Oh,
for
it's great.
this.
Isn't that nice to have a homecoming and a
Oh, I know.
Halloween that
Halloween.
isn't raining?
It's
My
perfect.
wife came with me and
I have not met her.
I did not know how much she cared for me until she made the conscious decision to not have Halloween, because that's
Is that a big
her
thing?
thing.
Oh.
Okay.
We've had the Kansas Library Association over Halloween the last
Oh,
couple of
that's
years, and
right.
she would not come. Because she didn't want to not see the kids come up, and we've got a house with a huge wraparound porch and.
And everybody knows to
long
come
lawn.
there.
Everybody knows to come, because we've got the big candy bars and.
Oh, yeah.
So you are the one of the families.
The
you give away, like-
destination.
We are a destination site at the Rossville, Kansas Halloween
Oh,
event.
that's funny.
And where do you live? You mentioned that you are actually exactly halfway, and halfway to pick up.
It's not exactly halfway, but I don't come on the turnpike. I drive through Eskridge and Admire.
Okay.
And I'm a Kansas, Northeast Kansas guy, so any chance I get to get off the 4-lane highways and take the blue highways is an option for me.
Like that book, Blue Highway.
Yeah, which was a great book for me.
Love that. I love William Lee's Heat Moon.
So we don't care about this, but I'm practicing talking for an hour. When I got my Master of Arts in English at the University of Oklahoma, I wrote about Kansas literature, and the focus of it was William Lee's Teeth Moon's Prairie Earth,
Oh,
which
Chase
was a
County.
deep anatomy of Chase County.
Mm.
And it was an opportunity. See, again, maybe I'll talk about that in a very small way. One of the great things about librarians is their ability to recognize the relevance of a moment and being able to think about the world in terms of a small geographical piece, whether it was the people or the geography or the paleontology or the archaeology.
It was such a good book.
Yes, it was. I just saw it. It's been in a corner bookcase for a long time, and I just saw it last week, and I was, oh my gosh.
Have you read River Horse?
I haven't, but I haven't read that one. It
It's
was a
so
gift
good
from
too.
Brooks' grandma.
It's good. He has a newish one out that's fiction,
Oh, really?
and I haven't read it. It's called Celestial Navigation or
Oh,
something.
wow.
And I have it. I just haven't. It's on my TBR, of course,
Of course, which is
growing.
super long.
Yeah, but yeah, I love him. I think he lives in Columbia.
I
Missouri.
think he is a Missouri guy, yeah. And I mean, both as a state and a university.
Yeah, I think he is.
Maybe I'll reach out to him and see if he wants to come talk.
I wish he'd come to like KLA or.
Yeah.
Cool.
William Lee's Teat Moon.
His name is Trogdon, Bill
William-
Trogdon,
Yeah,
but he,
His pen
name is William Leasty Moon.
Well, we have Great Plains studies.
Oh, yes. Yes.
It was close.
Dovetails
It was
nicely.
close. Unfortunately, a few years ago, due to the budget cut,
Oh, yeah.
but I have that fund.
Well, let's-
In that one, so we can.
Let's pry it open.
You know,
like
it
call
depe-
it the Jim Hoy.
yeah, depending how.
Oh,
Yes.
Depending on how much.
Because he
we
was
think,
head of
you know.
it.
Yeah.
So we were talking about like have a named lecture for Dr. Hoy and Kathy Hoy. So Kathy
Yeah.
is one of
Yeah,
our grads.
unfortunately.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that
right.
would be a great one.
We would.
Yeah.
William Lee's Teat Moon.
Yep.
Okay, we'll work on that.
All right, just to edit out these things.
Yes, yeah. It's all relevant.
I'm hoping that, because I have it on max volume for you to hear them, so I'm hoping that it works.
Yeah.
Well, Myra, you can hear us, right? Because that's what's important.
Yeah.
Not me.
Oh, no.
Uh, So what do you have to do at KLA?
Just the presidential awards.
And that's it, as past president.
As past president. And I have been just terrible this last year. I lots happened at Washburn.
Well, yeah,
I got
you were moving.
promoted and
Moving
which
to a
is
new building.
awesome, moved to a new building and maybe one of the biggest eye-opening moments for me in the world of librarianship, especially in library advocacy, is I got an opportunity to go to the American Library Association chapter leaders group in Chicago a couple of Decembers ago. And I can't remember the name of the person. She's really big in the Virginia Library Association, but also with the ALA. She said, just real quick, how many of you out there are volunteers in your library, state library association? And every hand goes up. And she said, do you spend an hour or two a week or more? And she said, hour or two a week? Nobody. More? Everybody's hand went up. And the Kansas Library Association, no different.
Yeah.
There's just, when you're in those roles as the second VP and the first VP and putting that conference together, there's a lot required. And then the president, especially in the moment that we're in now, I was getting, I don't know, half a dozen information literacy concerns, intellectual freedom concerns, I mean, a week. As people were saying, what do I do? What do I need to do? And so I was gracious. I had gracious help from Lacey Griffin and Tammy Benham to take on the co-leadership of that committee, which freed me up a little bit. But then once I became the past president and I didn't have those day-to-day things, I just let it kind of ride, and they've been so gracious to let me be absent.
Yeah, it's a 10 or 2, so let's get started. People will come. Welcome everybody this morning. I'm so happy to have this year's ESU Distinguished Alumni Award recipient, Sean Bird, our proud alum of SLIM. And we will have kind of in the free flow, informal talk about his path, professional path or personal interest through SLIM and after SLIM. Now he is the dean of Washburn University Libraries and also in charge of student success. So he has a lot of insights in higher ed and also in our profession. And he is also a recipient of ALA, I Love My Librarian Award, which is very prestigious in our field. So congratulations and welcome to SLIM. So can you describe briefly about your journey to SLIM and after SLIM?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dean Zhang, for inviting me, for allowing me to talk to the wonderful SLIM family. I am so grateful to be a part of the SLIM family and to have been able to learn and grow with all of the people that are part of the library community and the Emporia community for many, many years. As many of you recognizing pathways require some discipline and some focus, but it also requires us to be focused on those serendipitous moments and to open those doors when they provide an opportunity for us to try something different, to recognize new opportunities in our lives. And I would say that my pathway, as much as I would love to believe, has been planned and organized and thought about intentionally. There is certainly some of that, but there is a lot of salient moments that were serendipitous, that were a moment in time that I had a chance to make a choice or not, and that just as Robert Frost said in his famous poem, it has made all the difference. And so, as an example of that, I was not a great student as an undergraduate. So many of my friends went to college and took a 4-year experience and turned it into a career or turned it into a graduate program. I took the less famous 7-year plan. And I think in some ways I've heard that boys mature later. I don't know if it's true. Sean's mature later, I can tell you that. But it was an opportunity to grow within the context of higher education in a way that I wouldn't have were I not to have been a part of a longer pathway. But when I got to the end of my undergraduate program, I asked my mentor at the time, Dr. Howard Faulkner, what do I do now? And he said, well, you probably should have been thinking about that for the last few years. But he said, if you don't know what to do, he said, my recommendation is that you go to graduate school. I said, well, where would I go? He said, again, you should have been thinking about this years in advance. He said, but one place I think you might fit in is at the University of Oklahoma, my alma mater. So I applied, and the University of Oklahoma said that they would not only accept me and waive my fees, but they would allow me to teach as a graduate assistant. And so I got into the college classroom, and I got to see how important it was for me to be able to help students in some ways that were just like me, that hadn't planned their college pathway in a very disciplined and focused way, to help students know that college isn't just about collecting information. It's about building knowledge. It's about solving problems. It's about thinking critically. It's about connecting to other human beings. And so I was able to have the kind of transformational experience in my first master's degree that a lot of people have in their undergraduate experience. But as you might imagine, I got to the end of my graduate program and asked my mentor at the time, Dr. Robert Davis at the University of Oklahoma, what do I do now? He said, well, this is something you should have been thinking about in advance of that. So my wife had been so gracious to come down to Norman, Oklahoma with me and live my life effectively. And she said that I know that it would be meaningful for you to continue on here at the university and maybe get a PhD. But she said, I kind of want to go home. And so because she'd been so gracious for the 2.5, 3 years that we were down in Oklahoma, I said, sure. And we came back, and with my Master's of Arts in English, I was able to get a job in the building materials industry. And working in the building materials industry was amazing because I got to see how smart people are, right? The people that were working in the building materials industry, in sales, in working in the yard, delivering building materials, were thoughtful and had wealths of knowledge, just different than I had. But I was also able to start teaching as an adjunct at that other university 50 miles down the turnpike, up the turnpike. And I was able to continue connecting to students in the way that I had grown accustomed to as a graduate assistant. And that was important to me. And I got to see again that students who were taking those evening classes that I was teaching had come to college as direct high school matriculants, or who had come to college like I had and had struggled and had decided that it wasn't for them, or who had decided to slow walk their undergraduate degree, and for whom this next class in English that I was teaching was an opportunity for them to move closer to that goal. But I got to see again that the people around me are so darn smart. They're so knowledgeable, they're so thoughtful and so well-meaning. And so higher education was a pathway for them to something that was going to be important to them individually. It became clear to me, though, that the building materials industry was a short-term opportunity for me. And so I thought I could either go back to school and get a PhD in English so that I could become a member of the faculty, or maybe I could try another option. And a high school librarian in the town where I was working as a building materials expert asked if I had ever considered librarianship. And I said, no. And she said, you should look into Emporia's librarian program because it is amazing and it is suited for you. So the seeds have been planted. And one Sunday afternoon in the double-wide home that my wife and 2 children and I shared, I went back into the bedroom that we were using as an office, and I applied for application to SLIM's program. I reached out to 3 people to serve as references, and I wrote my statement of objectives. And I came out into the kitchen where my wife was cutting up vegetables for supper that night, and I said, I just applied for Emporia State's library program. And she continues to dice carrots, and she says, that's so nice. And it's a reminder, right, that we do these things that we do for ourselves in some way. And I had an opportunity to reflect again on my educational pathway. So I graduate from my undergraduate degree in 1991, and I go to the University of Oklahoma. While I was at the University of Oklahoma, I am told that I had to look into this way cool new technological platform called email. And I said, I'm going to get to that. I really am. In the few short years it took me to get through the program at the University of Oklahoma till I applied for the library program at Emporia, the world had changed. And the first thing I get is an email address. Now at Emporia, right, in 1990, well, this would have been 2005. In 2005, when you apply for admissions, you get an email address. So the world has changed immensely. I had an opportunity to come down and visit with a member of the team, and she said, you're probably gonna get in. She said, just to be clear, it's a very competitive program, and if you don't get in the fall, we'll think about getting you in the spring. And I'm a fortunate human, and I got in the first time. But when I go to the orientation at that time and go directly into class that first day, I had told myself I have to sit in the front row. I need to sit in the front row because it's been a while since I've been in college. I'm also easily distracted, and if I sit in the back, I'm going to be distracted by everybody between me and the teacher. Well, when I get into the classroom, the only desk in the front row that's available is the one right by the door. There are 35 people in the classroom. There are 5 rows, and there are 7 desks in each column. And so I get to hear everybody in the class tell the teacher why they decided to come to Emporia's library program. Well, the way it worked out, I was the very last person in class to be able to tell my story. And everybody had such fascinating stories. They had worked as a library page when they were in high school. They had worked in the academic library in their academic library at the university that they attended. All wonderful stories that had clear library connections. And I had none of that. I was a library user. I knew libraries because of my love of libraries from the time I was a child, and my mom let me go uptown to the library in town and check out books. I knew libraries from my time in the university, both as resource hubs, but also as places where I could go and study, where I could find a corner, find my favorite chair, my favorite desk on the 4th floor of the library. And so I keep thinking, oh my gosh, I've made the worst mistake of my life. But again, right, librarians and even library students are amazing humans that gather together for reasons that I can't quite put my head around, but which I know to be true. And so by the end of the first day, after admitting that I didn't know why I was there and admitting that this was going to be a challenge for me, I became close to everybody in that class, right? I'm still close to half of them. Of the 35 people in that initial classroom experience, I still have connections with a good half of them. I have had connections with almost half of them just in the last couple of weeks as I've been bestowed this amazing honor. But then I get into the library world, right? I get into the actual practice of librarianship, and it becomes clear to me that it is exactly where I need to be. I was happy to be a building materials salesperson and a forklift operator, but to be able to help human beings find the information that they need to become part of this knowledge economy that has grown up around me since I was an undergraduate is so important to me because I realize how critical it is for all of us. I realize that in an information age, that for us to be able to find information that makes us happy, healthy, and whole is such a critical component that in a busy, hustling and bustling community that I live in and that you live in is harder and harder to attain sometimes. And so I really do believe that librarianship is critical. In my last class, the last summer that I was a SLIM student, I was in a class with Dr. Achleitner, and we were talking about the global information infrastructure. And we were talking about all of the different components of that infrastructure, whether it's health or it's civil or it's educational. And I also think that I'm hilarious. And I said, Dr. Achleitner, it sounds to me like you're saying the librarians are the last great hope of civilization. And very serious, he said, you do not know how right you are, Mr. Bird. And I laughed, and maybe a couple of other students laughed. We were meeting face to face at that time, right? So there's some energy in the room. But then driving home that night, that evening, it occurred to me that I was right, that librarians are the last great hope of civilization. If we do live in an information age, if we do live in a world in which information is the currency, that information is the coin of the realm, that information is the infrastructure and the bedrock of the lives that we lead, who is going to be the guide? Who are going to be the directors and the helpers and the facilitators of that information in a world where it's even hard to tell what information is even true? And so I think a lot about that. I think a lot about how I can help people not only understand how to find information, but how to understand their role in the information economy, the knowledge economy, how I can help people realize that as information consumers, we have obligations. As information distributors and disseminators, even if it's just liking something, hearting something, I think it's important for us to recognize that we have obligations, that not just librarians, but all residents of all communities have obligations within the information world that we share. And so this is what I think about now in terms of information and our role. And I point to all of you. What are we going to do about these things?
Yeah.
What are we going to do about these things, right? I have been a technology lover. I have been a technology despiser. I have been a technology lover again. And now I think that with your help, I want to be an objective technology connoisseur. When I was using the laptop for the first time, when I went to the University of Oklahoma, I turned my first paper in typing it on a Royal manual typewriter. I turned it in to my professor, and he called me into his office, and I believed I was going to get in trouble. And he said, you need to get a computer. So I applied for a student loan. The student loan was $2,000, and the Packard Bell computer that I bought with a 486 processor and a 20 megabyte hard drive, I thought to myself, 20 megabytes? Why would I need so much space? But I bought it anyway. It cost $2,100. But I was an active participant, right? When I was using that new computer and then the subsequent desktop computers that I would use for the next couple of decades, I am an active participant in that information processing experience. When I got a flip phone a few years later, it occurred to me that I was still an active participant. I had to flip it open and I had to engage it with my fingers. And I am now seeing students in the classes that I teach as passive consumers of what these things do. So help me think about this. the business model, whether it's Apple or it's Amazon or it's Facebook, Meta, whether it's Twitter, X, the model for this is to keep people's eyes on the screen. The technology is designed, in fact, to help those business models achieve their goal of keeping our eyes on these screens. So what I would like you to do right now, because it's anonymous, right? I can't really see you. It's not my business. I'm a librarian, and I believe in the access of information, but I also believe in the privacy of information, and I believe that you have a right to do with your information whatever you want to do. You can access it the way you want to. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help us be cognizant of what these things do for us. What I'd like you to do is I would like you to open your phone, and I'd like you to tell me what your screen time is right now. Don't really tell me. But I want you to look at your screen time. It's 10:21 Central Daylight Savings Time in Emporia, Kansas. My screen time is 2 minutes. If your screen time is 10 minutes, or your screen time is 40 minutes, or 90 minutes, or 240 minutes, those tell you something about how important this thing is for you. And I am in no way suggesting that we shouldn't be using these. My mother turns 82 in a month and a couple of days. I text my mom every day, right? I text my wife once at 7:30 in the morning, once at 10:30 in the morning, once at 2:30 in the afternoon, and once at 5:30 if I'm not on the way home, right? I text my children, I have 2 children, I text my children once every day. When I can't remember something, I've been trying this new feature. I call it my memory. I've been trying to force myself to remember the names of actors or singers that I know that I should know, but I've forgotten. When I go to new cities and towns, I try to make myself use the old technology of my eyes and my ears and my nose and my brain to be able to find my way back to the hotel. Because I do want it to be easy. But something has happened to me since the pandemic. And because I'm a librarian, I think it will make perfect sense to you. One of my jobs during the pandemic, I went to lunch with my boss at the time in January of 2020, and we were in Jimmy John's in Topeka, Kansas. And I said, there is a pretty strong likelihood that this virus that's causing trouble in China and is starting to cause trouble in Topeka, Kansas, is going to disrupt our educational world. I'm going to start thinking about what I need to do in order to be prepared for that moment in time. I said, one thing I need to do is I need to make sure that we have plenty of laptops, because there's a potential that a lot of students are going to be sent home and are not going to have access to laptops. So we used funds from the library at Washburn to buy about 100 laptops. I worked with my colleagues in the IT department to buy another 100 laptops. By a stroke of serendipity, right? These things happen. Westar Energy reached out and said, we have about 75 laptops that we no longer want because we're cycling through them. Would you like to make use of these laptops? And I said, yes, we would. So just by good fortune, I had thought about the potential that school would be disrupted. And I was able to provide laptops. Almost all those laptops got checked out within the first 3 weeks of being sent home on spring break and not coming back. But something else that happened was because we didn't want to connect with humans in the same way, I would I would wrap books in bags and set them inside the vestibule at the library, and people could come in and take those books home and read them. And then, for the first time in a long, long time, it used to be the role of student workers to go check our library Dropbox. I became the Dropbox person. And for those of you who have Dropboxes or who know the Dropbox world, these are the things that get dropped into Dropboxes. The books that got checked out from the library that the Dropbox belongs to, books that belong to other libraries and the geography of that particular Dropbox, and books that people no longer want, and they don't want to get rid of them, but they don't know what to do with them, so they drop them into the Dropbox. I was out in the Dropbox, and I found a book that did not belong to us, did not belong to the Topeka Library, in fact, did not belong to any library, but the book was called 7.5 Lessons About the Brain. And I took that book in. Usually when books that don't belong to us or other libraries came into the Dropbox, I would take them to the book sale of the public library in town. But this book, for whatever reason, attracted me. And it had also been well used, well loved. I thumbed through it and realized that there was a lot of good information about it, but that I was going to need to get my own copy. So I got on Amazon and I had one sent to my home. And I started reading 7.5 Lessons About the Brain. About 10 months after that, 9 months after that, the librarians in the state of Kansas were sponsoring a lunch professional development opportunity that brought really, really important librarians and library advocates from around the nation to Kansas via remote access, via Zoom. And one of those people was a library professional that you may have already heard of, Jamie LaRue. Jamie LaRue is an amazing human being. Jamie LaRue, you should just look up Jamie LaRue when you get a minute after this is all over. Jamie LaRue works for a public library in Colorado, has been an administrator in the Office of Intellectual Freedom at the American Library Association, and is back in Colorado doing amazing things. And I didn't get to watch that professional development lunchtime opportunity in real time, but I did watch it a few weeks later on the recording. And Jamie LaRue talks about some brain books that he came across within the last few years. One of them being A Stroke of Insight by Jill Nolte, and another one being How We Decide by Joshua Leonard. I got those books, right? So some people were baking bread, and some people were collecting fountain pens, and some people were getting exercise equipment. I was reading brain books during the pandemic. But it started making sense to me in a way, how important librarians need to understand our brains really is. And so I want you to go read your own brain books, but I want you to feel free to reach out to me, and I will make some recommendations based on some conversations that we will have over the short time. But really, I want you to start thinking about the brain in this way. Things that make us feel good, we do again. Things that make us feel not good, we avoid doing. That's it. Things that make us feel good, we do again. And sometimes that's awesome, right? It makes me feel good to connect with human beings. It makes me feel good to talk to people and to help people. And as much as I want to believe that me helping you is for you, there is a huge component of that helping that is about me, about how it makes me feel. But also, I like to eat cupcakes and I like to eat cookies. And I have maybe a tendency to eat too many of those things. I don't like. It does not make me feel good to walk or to work out. I have a son who loves to work out. He tells me it feels good to work out. It does not make me feel good in any way. In fact, it makes me feel not good. So these are things that I know about the human brain. We respond easily thoughtlessly, effortlessly about those things that make us feel good and feel not good. We just do those things that make us feel good again and again, and we do the opposite when we don't feel good. We avoid doing them. But our brains are also able to work at that next level. I can look at that third cookie on the desk in front of me and choose not to eat it. I can realize that I only have 5,400 steps this morning on my way to 12,000 and make myself go walk another 2,000 steps, which is roughly a mile for me. How does that impact librarianship? When people come to us, how does our awareness that they want to feel good, that they respond to feeling good, how do we help them continue to feel good? How do we recognize that feeling good is a part of the human experience and that we want to lean into it? We want to celebrate it. We want to lift others up. We want to be accomplices in their feeling good. And then how do we realize that sometimes that feel good part isn't the best for us, that the additional calories isn't right, that we may need to think about and using our slow brain, other options. How does that impact librarianship? How does that affect how we understand our roles to make people feel good, to help people out? Where's the line? But also ourselves and how we move ourselves into positions where we can be facilitators for humans in using our brains to the optimal way that we can. Because at the end of the day, right, this is something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. At the end of the day, librarianship is about information, right? It is about books. It is about websites. It is about all the formats of information that we know exist. It's about spaces. It's about building spaces within our own libraries, to building spaces outside of our libraries that function in ways that allow human beings to engage information, to engage themselves, to look in upon themselves and figure out how they fit, how we can help them fit. Programming is so important. Building out programs that help people do, right? One of my favorite library songs is the Librarian Song by Joe Uvegas. Please look it up. Joe Uvegas went to the Colorado Library Conference a decade ago, 15 years ago, UVEGES. And he wrote a song about librarians. And what do librarians do? We tell patrons how to do it. We show patrons how to do it. And then we get back and we smile so happily as we watch patrons do it for themselves. So all of these things are part of the library persona that we are either currently inhabiting or that we will soon. How do we use that library persona to make the lives of the people that engage us as happy, healthy, and whole as possible? And so the lesson that I've learned, two things that I've learned that I guess I would impart to you today, as we'll open up some time for the dean to ask questions or for you to, if we have that capability. But first is I have been so rewarded by the Emporia State University Alumni Association in recognizing me to be a distinguished alumni. But I tell you this genuinely. I tell you this in honesty, that it's not me in some ways. It's the advocates that I have had all of my professional career. And I am sitting next to two of my greatest advocates right now in Kathy Buckman and Dean Jean. Dr. Dow was my first library reference, as we are prone to do, right? These things are human. I had a class with Dr. Dow and I loved the class and I loved her so much that I took two more with her, right? Because I wanted more of her wisdom. I continue to have a folder. Over time, I have winnowed my library school stuff as I realize that it's not important. I have a folder that at one time was a folder that was about LI 810, but now it's just all the stuff about Dr. Dow that is still important to me. The front of it is filled with quotations from the various classes that I had with Dr. Dow that are still relevant to me. But we do what we do because of something personal, but then we are advocated for by everybody else. And I have been so fortunate to be advocated for. And it is my challenge to you, as it is a challenge to myself, to be advocates for others as well. We are all like those 1970s disco balls that reflect the light of others, that we are the ball and you are the light, that we are the ball and those others are the light that we are reflecting. So take that away, right? Be the multifaceted disco ball that you are and reflect the light of others, but be the light. Be an advocate for other students, be advocates for people in your orbits, however that may be. But the other lesson, I guess, that I would give to you is that you have to lean into serendipity. You have to recognize that things are coming down the pipe all the time, that you have to be ready to make a choice. One of my favorite memories of being a coach for my children when they were in Little League baseball was I was an assistant coach on a team with an amazing human being. And I was the first base coach and he was the third base coach. And every time the batter for our team got into the batter's box, the third base coach, Coach Thornburg, would walk down the coach's box and he would clap to the batter and he would say, "All right, number 2, make good choices in there. I want you to make good choices in there." So that is what I think I mean when I say, let's be open for serendipity. Make good choices in there. Make good choices knowing this. We can't go back. We can't go backward. Whatever you choose to do, if you choose to apply for that job, you choose to decline that job, doesn't matter. Can't go back. It was the right decision in the moment. And we're going to go on and we're going to go to that next choice. So what I can say to you, I was a slow student. It took me a while to figure out my pathway. Once I learned the beauty and the glory and the wonder that is education, that means so much to me because of Emporia State's involvement. Emporia State, which to me is synonymous with education in all of its ways. But I think as well, it allowed me in my time, using my ability to figure out my pathway, to be transformed. And so the role of librarians, I think, is to help others be transformed by the world that they inhabit. So I'm so grateful for Emporia State. I'm so grateful for the School of Library and Information Management. I'm so grateful for the individuals I've already named and those that I haven't named that are part of this conversation that have been advocates for me. And I am so happy to be an advocate for you. Just let me know how I can help.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, the audience on the Zoom, any questions, any comments?
Myra.
Yeah, just jump on.
Well, I see lots of clapping happening there, and I don't know if you can see it or not, Sean, but everyone is clapping. It's just delightful to hear you talk. We don't get nearly enough of it. So we're so glad you're here. We're glad we have this opportunity. And I'm so glad that you that we have a chance through homecoming kinds of activities to get together in this way and to remember what's important to us. It's talking to students, hearing them tell their stories that really keeps people like me getting up in the morning and being excited about the work of higher education. So I'm so grateful to you for your acceptance of this award and your willingness to come to campus and to go participate in the activities. We're so proud of you, and we're glad you're the one that's doing it this year. I want to remind you of something. I remember this, and I hark back to it every now and then. It probably doesn't sound like much, but one of the things I remember is that, our class meetings face-to-face occurred all evening on Friday, all day long on Saturday, and half a day on Sunday. And we did that 3 times during every semester. That was a marathon for students, and it was a marathon for the people teaching. I still try to think about how much effort it took to plan that much time, face to face with students and keep people really engaged. And so that still is heavy on my mind. I wonder even still how it was even possible, but I know it was, and you have verified.
We did
it. So, well, one time I remember talking about change, as we often did, and doing my best to encourage people to be willing to embrace change and to lead change and to be responsible for not just following the leader, but taking a new path and going about it in new and different ways. And one of the things on that particular occasion that I'm remembering, you were in the classroom, and I used a metaphor, I think, that had to do with those little creatures in Madagascar that are called lemurs. I don't know if you remember this or not.
Yes, I do.
I tried to explain that they, are special little animals. They only exist in this one place in the world, and they have intriguing behavior, walking in a line, and their potential is that they could fall off of a cliff because they're so determined to follow the leader.
Yes.
And what happened was that when I talked about it, I'm pretty sure I put the accent on the wrong syllable, or maybe my brain tried to give it some sort of French interpretation. But when you got a chance to talk, you straightened me out just by saying the word properly. And it caused me to be tickled. I wanted to giggle so hard I could hardly stand it. And when the class was over, I still wanted to laugh, and so did you. And we really did giggle about it. But it was a meaningful moment. I think people really got the point when they thought about how it is that social animals can travel in groups, and they can be so inclined to synchronized movement that they just keep following. They just keep following, and humans just keep that up and metaphorically fall off the cliff. So anyway, for what it's worth, those were the kind of moments that we had, and they were good. And I appreciate it. Means a lot to me to see how and to hear you talk about all the things that you do that are out of the box, so to speak, and taking a new path. And I have an idea that you already intended to do that, but that conversations like we had in class really gave you and many others a green light to do it, even if it wasn't easy. And so I'll stop. Again, Sean, thank you for everything you do for everyone, because I know it's a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Dow. You make me feel very good.
Hi, Kathy, can you type in the song in the chat?
What was the library song?
Oh, Joe U Vegas.
Joe U Vegas.
Yes.
Can you type it? Yes.
Joe?
UVEGES.
It's called the library song.
The library song. Just Google it and it'll come up.
I don't think I know it either. You want to sing
Okay.
it for us?
First wait, I'll have to think about it for a minute.
Okay, thank you guys.
Oh, you're
All
welcome.
right.
Thank you for asking.
Interesting.
I don't think I know that song.
All right, so how is it, what does it look like? Or how did it kind of, how, what I meant is the I Love My Librarian Award. How did it came to you? Yeah, what's the process? And it's a really out of the blue, just kind of shocked, or
Do people nominate you?
Yes. And so once again, right, that's a great question, Dean Zhang. The I Love My Librarian Award is given to 10 librarians across the nation every year. They do a really good job of identifying people in different libraries, different library types. But I think to the point of how I was selected, because I had amazing advocates, because people advocated for me in that time, because I had again, coming out of the School of Library and Information Management, being thoughtful about what libraries might have to do during the pandemic, for reasons that I can't even explain to you, at Jimmy John's, I decided that we needed to get about 200 computers in case we needed them in a couple of months. And it turned out we did. I mean, the opposite could have occurred. We could have bought 200 computers that we would have not been able to deploy, and I would have been not as well received. I would have spent a lot of money that wasn't utilized. But it turned out that it was important. Being able to tell that story, my advocates at that time were able to tell that story. And because the the nomination committee at the American Library Association was up to their eyeballs in the pandemic, I mean, that resonated for them. I had a couple of really important students write letters. And again, all of us do this, right? All of us connect with students in ways that are meaningful. In the same way that I connected to Dr. Dow and wanted to take all the classes that she taught, I've had students that, for reasons that are still somewhat inexplicable to me, are connected to me, right? That want to be connected to me. And I have been able to work with them. And this one student in particular, whose name is Andrew, was struggling to see the purpose of higher education, to see the purpose of getting a degree. And I just kept working with him. I kept bringing him in and talking to him. And eventually he graduated. And the very first line of his nomination letter was, without that dude, I don't graduate. And why he chose to write that, I can't tell you. But thinking about it retrospectively, it certainly was a line that was important for Wanda Brown, who was the past president, who at that time was in charge of the nomination committee. So that line, as well as that decision to buy some laptops, to work with our ITS department to buy some laptops, serendipity, it worked out for me. But I think to expand on that, right? I have been fortunate enough to be elected to the Kansas Library Association Executive Committee, worked as the second vice president, then the first vice president, which is really the conference chair, worked as the president, which in my world had a lot to do with intellectual freedom, had a lot to do with some of those challenges that we're all seeing, that we especially saw a couple of years ago, right? I am now the past president, and in that role, I get to see all of the nominations for the presidential awards, the Library Personnel Award, the Meritorious Service Award, the New Professional Award, and all those awards ask us to nominate people, to advocate for people. And so while me receiving that I Love My Librarian Award it makes me feel good now thinking about it. It made me feel amazing. I remember the call that I got from Wanda Brown and how amazing I felt in that moment that she, I mean, this huge person in the American Library Association was taking the time to reach out to this at that time, Associate Dean of Libraries in a very small academic library was hugely meaningful. But that's, I think, the most important lesson for all of us. Who are you advocating for? Who can you advocate for? I'm challenging myself to be a better advocate. I'm asking you to be better advocates through the Kansas Library Association next year, through all those things that are in your world that allow you to show the light on other people that are doing amazing things, little things perhaps, those things that might be overlooked, that might not be as important in the grand scheme of things, but that in the day-to-day lives of the human beings in those communities mean everything.
Wonderful. Thank you. Kathy, do you have any comments?
No, I'm just so proud to call you a SLIM alum and my friend. And so the first time I met Sean, I was brand new,
Mhm.
and he sent me a email and said he wanted to bring a student in,
Yeah,
and it was Stephen Woody.
I do remember.
And you just wanted me to, and so Sean has always been that person that is advocating for students. I always tell my students that he's like one of SLIM's biggest cheerleaders and the
Yes.
profession's biggest cheerleaders. And that it is so important for all of us to do that. And so anyway, that was my introduction to Sean, and it's continued, and he is, you are so good to, a lot of my former students are your librarians now.
Yes.
And he loves to hire
Yes.
brand new librarians and mentor them. And, I think you do such a good job at that. So thank you.
Oh,
And you're very deserving of this award.
thank you so much.
Yeah, he's still doing that,
Yes.
that introducing SLIM to his students. A few weeks ago,
Yeah.
actually, one of potential, students came with two other friends.
Came to meet with me. Yes,
So-
Sophia.
Yeah, Sophia, yes.
Yes, you're still keeping it up.
SLIM was so transformative for me, right? I learned how to be transformed at another university south of here in Oklahoma. But by the time I had that experience, when I came to SLIM, I was open to be transformed. And what that means is I opened myself up, which is risky and dangerous and uncomfortable in some ways, but allowed me to make great connections with the faculty here. Dr. Dow, I mentioned, Dr. Salvatore at the time, the great experience that I had with Dr. Ochleitner, that opportunity to listen to somebody who had been in the library profession for decades, right? To help transform me into the professional that I am today, but not just the professional, into the person that I am, that person that I think all of us are, right? That person who wants to help others, that person who wants to shine the light, but just sometimes doesn't know how. SLIM is magical. SLIM is an excellent way for all of us to learn how to be the professionals and the people that we have deep inside us.
So one small question as the last one. You mentioned you were in the building material
Yeah.
sales. So, and I heard from you before, the retail background is very relevant
Yes.
to our profession. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because we constantly have potential students saying, I don't have any
Yes.
library experiences, but I have worked at the Kohl's or
Yeah.
other small retail venues. And I actually had one student mentioning she used to the stock the materials and the items in the racks. What's
Yeah.
Nordstrom rack?
Yeah.
So and then I told them, you will be a good librarian. And then she came back to our booth last year or so in the national conference. Okay, you remember me? I don't remember you, but you had told me that story, and then now I'm a librarian. So I think it's very relevant. So
I think at the heart of librarianship is humanity, and being a human and engaging in humans and thinking about those retail opportunities that many of us have as high school students or working our way through college, where we're on the front lines of a retail operation. But even those professionals that choose to work behind the scenes, that are building websites, that are building databases and figuring out how to make those databases accessible. At the heart of what we all do is how do we help humans access that information that they need to be, again, as I've said multiple times, happy, healthy, and whole. It is a critical component of what we do, and we come to it in different ways. and some of us come to it through that fast food mentality or through working a cash register at a retail place. But in all of those manifestations, we've heard that cliche, the customer is always right. Whether that's accurate or not, I don't know. But what I do believe is that people deserve our attention. People deserve our engagement. And so if a person's primary background is in customer service in any way, they're going to be amazing librarians.
All right, thank you very much. Any other last comment from the audience?
Okay.
All right, so
Thank
thank
you
you
so
very
much.
much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.